There we go. Okay, they lied to you about financial freedom. Imagine that. You probably think it's something completely else than what it is, but I'm here to explain you how this works, what the lie actually is, and just give you a realistic view of financial freedom because you see a lot of people nowadays just kind of selling you a dream which is not really the reality of the situation. So I'm just more of a genuine dude that's actually trying to help you out and give you the real value and the real sauce behind everything. So, first of all, before we kind of dive deep into the lie and what's actually going on when it comes to financial freedom, we need to understand what financial freedom is. Now, I'm not here to give you any sort of fucking definition because I don't fucking know. But what I do know is my own opinions and the way I look at things. So I'm going to give you my point of view of what financial freedom actually is. So, what is financial freedom? Well, I would say it is the possibility to do what you want, when you want, where you want, because you have the financial resources and means to do so, right? Pretty simply explained, and by the way, I don't want to give you any false expectations. Obviously, financial freedom is a good thing. Making money is a very good thing. Please don't be the guy that's like, oh, you're just using to not make money because that's not what I'm doing. Literally, I teach people to make money for a living. So I know exactly that making money is one of the most important things you can do. Okay. And please do so. However, what most people don't realize is they think that financial freedom is going to solve all their problems and it's going to give them the life that they want. That's not the case, okay? And you probably heard this countless of times as well that like making more money only solves money problems, right? But that's not the whole truth. To some extent, yeah, solving and making a lot of money is going to solve a lot of your problems. But what most people don't realize is that their money problems are the problems that they should be least worried about. Okay. And I'll give you a great example because even when you're broke, like we've all been there, where we're kind of struggling to pay rent, we're struggling to afford this, we want to buy this, but we can't, etc., etc. But let's be real. Most of the time, when you've been in this position, you always find some sort of way to actually get resourceful and make that money, right? When you're late on rent, even when you're broke as fuck, you always find some sort of way to make that money and get rent paid. Even if you just have a regular ass job or whatever it is, right? You always find some sort of way because money problems isn't really the biggest problem that you have. So here's the thing, here's the lie with financial freedom. It is that, yeah, making more money is going to solve your money problems. But what really ends up happening is it exposes a lot of the real problems that you actually have. And I'll walk you through a personal journey of mine so you can really understand what I mean by this. And I hope it hits home for a lot of you. Just like we talked about, it's easy to solve money problems even when you're broke. It just differentiates in between how like big the money problems you have are, right? So what ends up happening when you make money? You solve a lot of money problems, you can pay for rent, you can pay for food, etc., etc. But what ends up happening it exposes the real problems that you have. So for me, when I finally made my first $10,000 a month, I was like, okay, I have some sort of leadway, I have some financial freedom, and then I consistently started making that month after month, month after month, and I was like, okay, now I have like way more financial freedom than I used to be. And I used to have, excuse me. Obviously, this isn't anything like crazy. Making $10,000 a month is gonna give you a lot of leeway, but you still like you're not making any crazy amount of money, right? So you still have some sort of money problems, but they're very minuscule compared to what you had previously. So here's the thing. What ended up happening is I kind of solved most of my money problems, but what I ended up realizing is then all of the real problems that I had, which I really should have been focusing on, was exposed like crazy. And that was when I realized, holy shit, money problems are the least of my worries. When I was broke, I felt like that was the only thing I had to do. But what I should have actually understood is that most of the problems that I have in my life is not due to being not having money, but it's more so because I lack the proper skill set of actually solving most of my problems in life. So when I made some financial freedom, it really exposed my problems that I had in my relationships. It exposed my problems in the way I was behaving, in the way I was communicating, especially, and a lot of lackluster aspects in life, which I couldn't just solve with money. I had to actually put time, effort, and work in to solve it. And this is the whole lie with financial freedom, because you see, financial freedom is almost like it's almost like fucking owning your own gym, right? On the outside, it looks super cool. You're owning your own gym. You can do whatever you want. You're making money, etc., etc. But on the inside, you got to fix equipment all the time. You got to fix different machines. You have a payroll. You have a bunch of responsibility and a bunch of problems. And that's what ends up happening when you have financial freedom. It exposes your problems. And to be quite frank, you have way more responsibility when you have money than what you have when you're broke, right? Because when you're broke, responsibility is not really there. Like all you have to do is pay the bills and take care of your family, which you should still do once you have money. But at that point, people are probably depending on you way more. You have a lot more exposed issues that you really have to fix. And here's the thing for me, I really realized how this affected me when it came to communication and relationships, especially, right? Because I couldn't solve that with money problems. Now I have financial freedom and I can't just be like, oh, yo, let me pay you to fix this problem. That's not how this shit works, right? So that's when you realize that the real problems and the real things you're dealing with is actually not even related to money. It is related to you and who you are, right? So understanding this, I was like, okay, I really am struggling with my relationships. I don't know how to communicate with people. I don't know how to portray myself. I don't even know how to really talk to individuals in the way I should. Because I was always doing closing, I was doing sales, I was running back ends and everything for a lot of big social media people. So I was like, I know how to talk business, but I don't fucking know how to really communicate with my parents in in my loving relationships, etc., etc. So I was really struggling, and that was a big aspect of life which really just dragged me down. Now that I had money, I always felt like I was one step behind in everything else. And that really, really gets exposed when you have the money, because now you don't have those money problems. You really have all of these real problems that are just slapping you in the face and are being exposed way more than when you don't have money, right? So what ended up happening is I was starting to read this book. It's called Scientific Advertising. It's a super cool book. And the reason why this is such a good book is because it doesn't just apply to, it's a very thin book, by the way. It barely has what, 70 pages, but it really helps you understand how to communicate, how to portray yourself outside of just products and what to sell online, but more so about how to really be like humans behave and understanding why people buy and everything. Because when you communicate in the way you portray, that's the same way you would portray a product or whatever. So you can apply this to everything in life. And I'll even find, because I think it's chapter 5, chapter 6 right here about psychology. There's a great, just short little sentence that says, he must learn that certain effects lead to certain reactions and use that knowledge to increase results and avoid mistakes. Okay. And what this basically means, it is related to the psychology, is that if you can solve these money problems, obviously you have real problems. So to understand how to solve those, you need to understand psychology, because it's usually all dependent on humans at the end of the day and how people react, right? That's the reason why you have the problems that you have. So once you can understand that what you do has a reaction and an outcome of something, you can almost manipulate that in whatever way you want, so you can get the outcome and the result and the reaction from people that you want to see, rather than getting the reaction you don't want to see, right? And this obviously goes way deeper into it, but this is essentially the main aspect of this video, is to give you guys the understanding that once you solve your money problems and once you have quote unquote financial freedom, you're going to be faced with way more responsibility, a lot more real problems that are going to be exposed so much that that is essentially something that can really drag you down unless you're prepared for it, right? So the reason why I'm making this video is to have you realize this before you even start making money. Because if there's one thing that can help you out, it's that if you have a lot of these issues solved already before you make the money, it's going to make your life 10 times easier. You're going to have way more peace of mind once you actually have, quote unquote, the financial freedom that you're looking for. And that's when you can really do what you want, when you want, where you want, not just because you have the financial resources to do so, but because you have your life in order. Right. So I really hope that helped. And that's kind of just my personal view, my personal journey and story regarding this situation. So to just kind of end it a little bit off and give you some help moving forward, I would honestly say to still focus on your financial problems and doing everything you can to make money. Like please don't neglect that just because I told you the lie about financial freedom, because everyone should, excuse me, everyone should make sure to make as much money as they can, especially because it puts you in a way better place financially. Being in financial freedom is obviously going to solve your financial problems, and solving problems as a whole is almost what life is all about, to make sure you have as much clarity, freedom, and I guess peace of mind as you can, right? So making money is a huge part of it. Now, the only lie in the, I guess, the feedback I want to give you with this is just to make sure to not neglect the real problems that you have in your life. It's probably going to be a lot better for you to solve those as well in the meantime, because it's going to help you with your money problems and making more money anyway, right? If I understood how to really communicate and talk with, like, how to have relationships in a better way, I'd probably be making way more money even sooner because I could communicate my thoughts in a way better way and in a much clearer way for the people that actually hear me talk and the way I communicate and etc. Communication is one of the hardest skills to actually understand. People think it's just talking, but that's not really all it is. It's to really portray what you are thinking into words and have the person you're speaking to understand it in the same way that you are thinking. So once you realize how to communicate properly, it's going to make your life 10 times easier in other aspects. That's just my example. Some people have relationships issues, some people have health issues, some people have fitness issues, etc., etc. And that's just like nuanced and depends on person to person. But once you make the money you do, these problems are going to be exposed to a whole nother level. And if you can get them in order beforehand, you're going to realize you're going to have a much easier and better time when it comes to just living life as a whole. But like I said, it's just the common lie about financial freedom. Please don't stop making money just because you heard me say this. It is still very, very important that you guys take this seriously and and like actually grow your income, but also solve other aspects and priorities that you have in life. That's kind of the message that I want to give you. I hope this helps. Moving forward, I'm going to really dial down and deep into how to make, I guess, some serious cash online. I know a lot of people that have kind of been watching my stuff don't really know my journey. That's kind of who I am. I've always been the guy in the back end doing a lot of the work. Nobody really sees me on the camera, so I don't really get much of the credit. It doesn't bother me at all, really. But I have realized that I'm sitting on a lot of value and a lot of knowledge that most people out there just sell again as a dream instead of actually giving the reality and the value of the situation, right? So I'm not here to bullshit. I'm not here to go around the bush or anything. I'm going to give you the cold hard truth, but I want to do it in an effective way so I can have you guys actually make more money in the future. Because once you're making more money, it's going to be easier for you to solve different problems that you have in life as well. So it's not just a cold lie, but it is actually a good thing to make money. So please don't get that wrong. But yeah, moving forward, I want to make sure that I can help you guys make money and teach you essentially how to make your first $10,000 a month, because I think that's really when some parts of life really change. And once those problems really get exposed, for some of you, it might even be easier to solve those problems because you don't even know you have them until you actually make money, right? That was kind of me. So that's more so why I'm making the video, to have you realize these problems that you're having before you even get there. But yeah, I'm gonna focus a bit more on that moving forward. So if you guys want proper help from me or whatever, moving forward, I'm probably gonna have some sort of specific things you can do to just walk you through how I basically went from making $0 living in my parents' house to making $10,000 a month in like less than a couple months. So that's what I'm gonna teach you guys moving forward. Hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll catch you guys next time. Take care.